The brigands pointed us toward the temple. Shunned by the devout, their allegiances lie to those who offer tar or spirits. They entertain themselves with drunken antics or violent cruelties. They know better than to attack us. But they followed us at a distance, hoping for scraps. They were a pathetic lot, squandering their time to drink moonshine and fight over scraps. An offering of a bag of tar garnered me their quick attention, but I sensed betrayal in their eyes. I knocked one down, and the other told me all he knew. As I turned to walk away, one struck my armor with a rock. Were they mad? I could just as soon cut them down as take a piss. I looked into their hungry eyes and warned them as much. The brigands fell upon us with crude knives. Trailing blood, I stumbled into a cavern. Deep within, a priest welcomed me, clutching a tablet. He promised I would be reborn within the shadow of the revered, but he could do nothing for my injuries. He ushered me deeper into the labyrinth. It must have been dug by 1,000 hands. I ignored much of what he said until he called my name. Smiling, he forgave me for the crime I would soon commit. It was all etched in stone, he assured me. These were the ravings of a madman. Silent, the newborn crawled from the earth's viscera, a gaunt, sallow-skinned creature, not entirely inhuman. Its hands grasped uselessly at her deflated form. Her limbs writhed and coiled around it. Perhaps an embrace. When the orders came, I felt pride swell in my chest. Despite my longings, I knew we were superior to these wretched creatures. These swine rotted within cramped, filthy temples. None were more misguided than these madmen, decorated with bones and mud. I watched as something swam beneath her belly. Her flesh sloughed from the bone and poured forth like mud, drowning the worshippers in a slurry of blood and earth. Birth and death were indistinguishable. I should leave, find safety. But I dragged myself closer as the prayers of the devout filled my ears. I couldn't lift my sword. I couldn't kill mother and child. I was given a choice: to kneel before the executioner's axe or the queen. An easy choice. For years I wore her sigil, repeated all the oaths, but I always knew one day, no matter how many honors were bestowed upon me, I would escape. We had vowed to slay this false god. Yet this promise was no more than a coerced pledge. What difference does it make which master we serve? We will serve all the same. The madman I would come to realize was not burdened with delusions, but truth. Yet the wary ear corrupts honest words into lies. I took him for a spy and cut him down. How else could he know so much about me? He had condemned himself with each utterance. First I heard the squeals as if from 100 mouths. Then I saw her, the revered, a writhing mass of sinew, as if all at once she was splitting apart and coalescing. Is it salvation to look upon her? Deliverance? I knelt, losing my strength. I wanted to look away, and yet she was all I wanted to see.
Existence is a curious matter. The greatest triumph in the universe, gifted and squandered. I shan't make the same mistakes as my brother. When the moment comes, I'll exercise restraint. I stood before you, dear brother, watching in horror as your lips parted for that poisoned chalice. I followed a path once trod by those who would become sisters and brothers, watching the past and present converge. You did not know I was there. I looked on from another place, waiting to be born. Though you hide behind that mask, I know you far better than I ever knew him. You've shown me a second path. Do you hear that? Hope is a funny thing you've kindled in me. A little yarn we spin, but perhaps it may yet come true. The faces of infinity are etched in stone, stacked in endless columns. Careful now. The precarious weight of such knowledge could crush an unwise man if he were to pluck a tablet in haste. It's gibberish, familiar signs and symbols etched by a human hand in my own tongue. Yet they're arranged without any discernible logic. The letters spiral in concentric circles, interspersed with figures that resemble mathematical formulae. It means nothing, I'm certain. But I can't look away. I know you are awaiting, my assailant. I've read how you will descend upon me. I will be too slow to stop you, though I will try. Just know that I do not blame you. I cannot hold on to this body when another will need it far more. We are a single existence, split only by the tides of time, joined together in death. It would be laughable if it were not so lamentable. These so-called seers wield icons and contraptions they do not understand. They uphold laws they ignore as needed. And yet they unearthed a tablet like nothing I'd seen before. Is this what you found? The promise of the unknowable? Vision is a burden, my dear brother. I do not blame you for leaving this empire of sycophants and charlatans behind. I fear our knowledge is only a privilege afforded by our silence. Each discovery, only provides our masters with more chains. You warned me not to go, as if you knew what I would find among the multitudes. But if that were true, why bother with such a useless gesture? Is it our nature to bemoan the unchanging course of fate? How could this be a story of a man with my name? He bears the same scars, shares in the same desires, even finds the same tablet. Can it be called history if it's written by a being that sees the future as readily as the past? Fate is not ours to defy, only to fulfill. You're chosen, as am I, brother, as is the unborn, ordained by the infinite. Perhaps you'll understand one day. In death, I shall find a new purpose. And your purpose, twisted and malevolent as you are, will light the way.
The Ovat made promises of an end to war and human suffering. Promises all were desperate to hear, myself not least, for I'd seen my share of tragedy. I scratched my name in their book, swearing myself to the deathless doctrine. My armor clattered on the ice as I knelt before them and asked myself if I would ever be worthy. The beauty of devotion is the excision of doubt. It's true freedom, unburdened by the fears of lesser creatures. Deliverance from guilt and shame. There is no need for the agonies of the living when ascension awaits. They say that beyond the ice, the old world is preserved. No war, no famine, no suffering. Eternal peace. Shielded by their unwavering sovereignty. A lineage that spans centuries. Why should I not be counted among the privileged? I waited as the Ovate prostrated herself before the altar. Something shifted. A shadow moved just at the edge of my vision. I turned my head, but I only found another corner of the empty cavern. The wind picked up, and the Ovate raised her head. The martyrs are here, she promised. The impoverished souls waited for judgment. Their heads were bowed, lips moving as they recited the martyr's hymn. My blade fell upon the first neck, but bone and sinew held fast. By the second blow, the remaining devout fled into the dark. My vision blurred and went opaque. The whiteness consumed the world, leaving only a vague memory. I felt hands guide me, ushering me away. Something sharp slipped beneath the plates of my armor. I swung out wildly, but my limbs grew heavy as cold crept in. I stumbled and fell, claw claws searching for the seams between steel and flesh. Titles and praise are little comfort. No salve can cure my trembling hands, or these disquieting dreams. My brethren whisper of redemption, another way, an immaculate path, heralded by saints. I do not deserve absolution, yet still I seek it. Our venerable order has slaughtered hundreds, and for what? So the magistrate could redraw the borders of our realm, claim victory over an ill-equipped enemy, over children who can barely raise their swords. The sacred rites remain closed to me. I'm unworthy of the venerated nectar, but I will prove myself. These sniveling rats who bow and scrape will never be enshrined. They have neither the will nor the strength to accept the deathless doctrine. The wardens seized me in the morning. I did not resist. The Ovate proclaimed I was unfit and impure. But I couldn't focus on the verdict. Beneath the shadow of the Immaculate, I felt no pain. I swelled with pride as my eyes beheld her inscrutable form. She was the last remnant of an unquestionable grace, lost eons ago. The infirm must be removed from our ranks. The poison of dissent and the frailty of flesh cannot be permitted within our sanctuary. This is a small price for unity, but I'm certain they will go willingly to their deaths. If not, I shall aid them.
They foretold a truth more terrifying than any other. Those who glimpse it behold no monster other than an utter lack of meaning. The visage of a razor-thin line between existence and non-existence, and nothing in between. The pupil slid the ritual knife into his wrist. He scraped flesh from bone, flaying himself. A low moan escaped his lips, as anguish and pleasure intermingled freely. The sages accepted this offering, tossing his bloody gift into the flames. It was madness, yes, but his sacrifice was beautiful. Only the revered could inspire a man to self-inflict such suffering. The oblate dipped a hand into the embers, and the flames leapt at his touch. Drawing back his blackened fingers, he drew a sigil of ash beneath my eyes. The soot burned against my cheeks, growing hotter with each word of purification. As smoke choked my vision, and tears welled in my eyes, the world itself burned white hot, but beneath it all, there was nothing. No monsters, no gods, only oblivion. The consecrated fires revealed cinders and shadows, yet I strained to see more. Surely these sages offered more than the assurances of annihilation. I hid my disfigurement beneath my cowl and slipped away. I was delirious when I reached the seat of infinity. Did I dream up this kind soul among the cherubs and the faceless masters? She welcomed me without flinching and offered nourishment. Had my throat always been this parched? I still reach for her in the middle of a cold night, but there is only the echo of her left. I see her outline. I can hear her voice rattling in my skull. I haven't tasted tar in days. She urges me to return to that damned shrine. Will they welcome a lost pupil back? I'm unrecognizable. A ghoul. Or perhaps a ghost, haunting this empty household. But I'm not unworthy of pity. Not yet, at least. A merchant dared to speak to me. He was a hideous fellow, but a kindred soul, I suppose. He mentioned a colony of sorts where my misfortune would be cured. He did not name its price. Two winters. That is all the physician promised was left for me. The malady gnaws at the corners of my eyes, pries the flesh from fingers and toes. It burrows deeper and deeper into my bones with each passing day. Even my own kin look away. Within the wilds we forgot our teachings and fell in with brigands. They mixed droplets of tar with muddy spirits and made no promises of salvation. We drank heartily, stumbling from one camp to the next. We rotted like joyous animals in the filth. With the tar throbbing in my belly, I see her completely. Each movement creates a swarm of copies. They ripple out from her, following their own whims. Some collide and join together, while others split apart, forming new copies. A reflection of reflections spreading out from her. The nexus, yet also indistinguishable. We stole from those thieves. There was never enough tar to go around. It was wasted on them anyways. We knew what it was. Its full potential. Why dilute it? But we were punished all the same. In time, my ruined face peeled away. Her form faded into something like fog. Something trapped between realms.